Hello everyone, Sar here. Thank you so much for joining me. I have a fun project to share today, and I'm going to be using the new products from Trinity Stamps, and it is a winter Christmas theme. I have the tiny little snowman. There is actually a tree, Santa Claus, and I have a feeling there's an elf as well in the Tiny series. If you saw the previous releases, there was the alien, and now we have some Christmas themed tiny elements, and it is adorable, and I can't wait to show you what I create with it. I have the large Christmas sentiment die. This cuts beautifully, especially in some foil cards. And look at this. I'm going to be playing with the Snow Stacks stamp set, but I'm going to actually focus on this little guy here. This one is definitely going to be a lot of fun to color, but for what my project's going to be, we'll work on with this snowman and some of the snowflakes here. So without waiting, let's start crafting. Okay, so we'll start off with the Tiny Snowman. There are a lot of little pieces, so I have pre-cut all my colored cardstock, and we're going to go with a snowman with a red scarf and a red sash on the top hat. So once everything is figured out where it's going to go, I believe that last piece was the snow. I was kind of confused, but then I realized it's for the snow on the bottom. So that also was cut in white. So everything is nice and cut according to the instructions. So let's put this together. It's actually quite simple. So we'll start off with the head. We'll put a little glue on the top and then a little glue underneath the snowman's head for the scarf, followed by the back layer of the scarf and then the top. I cut that into 3 shades of red just so that it creates a nice shadow effect, but you could choose 1 or 2 reds. The red that I'm putting on the top hat is going to be the same color of red as the one that goes around the neck, so those two match, and this should go edge to edge very, very closely. So just kind of push that and align it, and it should go perfectly. And then now that we have our snowman, I'm going to glue on his happy little smile. It is such a beautiful little smile. We're going to start making him more alive. This is where the magic starts coming in. Now that the top hat is sitting on the snowman. And let's put on his little coal eyes to complete his awakening. It's so adorable. I just love that simple little smile. And then we'll put a tiny little bit of glue on the top hat to stick it on top of his head. And you can just maneuver that to make it so that it fits. And there we go. So the next thing we're going to do is bring in his arms. I cut that in some craft cardstock color, and we'll put mine are both going to be facing up, and I'm pretty sure that's how they should. I guess if you wanted the arms to be in different directions, you would just swap them. And there we go. And now we're going to zoom in a little bit because there is a tiny little piece here that I want you to see on the broom. I actually like this because the broom handle almost looks like a wand from Harry Potter. So I'm trying to think how I can use that broomstick for that purpose. But for now, we'll keep it as a broom by a little bit of glue, and we'll add the straw top to it. And there we go. We got a nice little witch's broom for a snowman. And then we'll glue on his hand and on top of the hat because it's going to overlap, and that's what's going to keep it nice and secure. There we go. This guy is looking fantastic. Quite the dapper looking snowman. Next, we'll have our little buttons. They actually are heart-shaped buttons. You can see the 2 little holes on them, but you may not be able to on my video just because of the fact that I cut in black cardstock. But I was going to put 3 because it does cut out 3. But I figured that the 2 would look better because it was getting a little too low. I should have glued them a little bit higher if I wanted 3, but I think 2 looks quite perfect. And then his little orange nose. There we go. Oh, it's so cute. Finally, we'll add the holly. And so there was an extra black piece that was for the brim, and I believe that is used because then when you put the holly on it, which was in the instructions, or if you look at the back of the packaging, you'll see that the holly is on the bottom left-hand side of the hat. And if you put that little black strip That will help it keep it level, because these little hollies are quite small, and if you didn't have it level, it might be a little difficult to keep it even. But I decided to put it on the top of the hat. I think I like it there better anyways, because the berries are red and the sash on the hat is red. I think it looks better that they're separated. And then I put the little snow on the bottom, and then there's two tiny little snow pieces, and I just layered them because I'm going to be stacking this on my cards, so I want it to be on kind of like a chunky snow. There we go. It actually is quite easy to put together once you have all the pieces, and it turns out fantastic. Next, we're going to be playing with our snowman stamp here. I think it's called Snow Stacks. Yes. And I'm going to be creating my own background with this. And the reason I did this is because I do like creating my own backgrounds with stamps, especially when they're very easy to color. Snowmen and penguins are both very easy winter item characters to color. So let's start with the snowman. There is just the one that's a singular. And I'm going to kind of do 2 per row, and we'll make 4 rows in total. And we'll just stagger them, kind of like what pattern paper would be like. And so just doing my best. I'm not worrying if it's not perfectly straight. I'm just having fun and just letting it just work. And if I make a mistake, like being off camera, that is a-okay. Next, I'm going to take out this little snowflake with a smiley on it. I decided I was only going to use this snowflake just so that the background is not too busy. I had plans to use more snowflakes, but when I finished with this, I really liked how it looked. It's nice and simple. To tie in with the snowman that we already created, I'm going to color this in with some red Olo markers. We'll start with kind of a dark maroony, brownish red, and then we'll move into the bright red that is the scarf on our die cut. And I'm just slowly moving in, coloring the brim of the hat, or the sash on the top hat, or in this case, I'm not sure what kind of hat that's called. Leave a comment in below if you know what the name of this hat is. I think it's like a bowler's hat or something like that. I could be wrong. I could have totally made that up, but it's definitely not a top hat. And then we'll color in the carrot nose. And then for the hat, I decided to go a little different. I decided to color it with the BV. It's a very dark blue violet, and then bring in my cool gray. And I really like how this looks. I love that purplish black almost that you get. And then for the snow, I'm going to bring in a lighter BV. So we're not using grays, but this is so close to a gray. It's just a little bit more purplier than gray. And we'll do 2 shades of that, and that's it. That's the coloring. I love how this turned out. It's so clean, so simple, and striking. And you can add more snowflakes, you can add more color, but I love how this turned out. Next, we'll bring out this really awesome, large sentiment that says Merry Christmas, and we'll cut that in some gold foil. And now we're ready to start building our card. First, we have a piece of vellum, and this will help mute the brightness of the background. I had already trimmed my background to be 4 inches by 5 1/4. So the vellum is actually 4 1/2 by 5 3/4, so that I can wrap it around. And the reason for this is because you can't really glue vellum to a card base without it showing the glue. And since I don't have enough embellishments to cover the whole card to hide the glue, this is the next best thing. I'll just have to make sure to put some weight on there and let it dry while I make my card base, which I decided to do with a dark gray. Now, I will say that because we didn't glue it directly to the card, the vellum that is, you will have a little bit of lifting just because that's just how it works. Like you wrap it around, it's going to create a little bit of a bubble. It's very subtle, but you will see it. But that will also help really transmute or mute the color even more. To give it a little bit of height, I've added some foam tape. This is very, very thin, about 1/16 of an inch. using the glue just so I can wiggle it if I need to. And there you go. You can see that in the center, it's a little bit lighter and then darker on the outside. And that's because that very subtle bubble that we have here with the vellum. Now it's ready to add my sentiment and start finishing off this card. This gold foil is a perfect addition to this card. It creates a little bit of sparkle and magic to this. I just love how this stands out. But because we're working with vellum, let's add a little bit of weight on that so that it doesn't move. It doesn't need to wait long. It's just because you're using liquid glue and vellum is smooth, it will slide around. So let's just, especially with the sentiment, when you're cutting in gold foil, it does create a deeper well, at least with this cardstock. So it does move around a bit. And that's why we just add a little bit of weight. It could be anything, just anything a little bit heavy. Just put it on top just for a few seconds, maybe 30 seconds, let's say, just so that it starts to set and then you don't have to worry about it. It's just the beginning. There we go. And then let's add our tittle to the eye. I luckily found it. It didn't get lost, but normally that does. So there we go. And then we're going to bring in some of these little embellishments. I think it's like Christmas candies and stuff. And we'll take 3 berries that match the berries on the snowman's hat. And this is going to tie it all in together. And I just love how this turned out. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you're enjoying this whole release from Trinity Stamps. There is a lot of great products. Did you see those coffee cup add-ons? How amazing is that? Especially if you were in Crop and Create and you got to play with that. You're very lucky to see a whole bunch of new additions, as well as Tiny Snowman, Santas, the elves. There's the wreath. There's so many fun Christmas products as well as Hanukkah. I hope you're enjoying this. Don't forget to check out everybody else's creations that are on the Hops on YouTube and Instagram. And until the next time, have a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you all later. Bye.